Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and cockles presented by Bolin Media. I am Ross Bolin here with Barrett Dudley, ready to digest and discuss episode 5 of season 2 of House of the Dragon, Regent. Barrett, I have a challenge for the both of us today.
Okay.
For the entirety of today's episode, whenever one of us is not talking, we should purse our lips ever so slightly and serve face like that boy Jace does in every single one of his scenes. Like, serious question, why are Jace and Aemond in particular incapable of making any face but blue steel?
When you hire guys like that really, you know, they're great on screen in a television show such as the one we're watching, but like really where they belong is like on the catwalk, right?
In whitey tighties,
strutting the runway.
Yeah.
That's what you're gonna get. They both have like they've got high cheekbones,
chiseled
features. Great hair, especially on that boy Jace. Who maybe we should switch his nickname from that boy Jace to Jace the Face.
I like that. Jace the Face,
and
that's gonna catch on.
Yeah, I don't know. You're not wrong. Like, you're pointing out something that's hard not to notice is these two guys just with their steely gaze.
It's kind of funny at different points though. Like they're just in a room full of people, just like
just with a sexy little pout going on.
Can't stop. They can't stop. Once again, neither of us has read the books. We are judging the show as the show and discussing only what we saw on screen. And after getting a lot of complaints last week, we will no longer be referencing the inside the episode or trailer for next week's episode without first applying a verbal spoiler warning.
I mean, so as I watched the inside the episode and the House That Dragons Built featurettes after this episode, I was just thinking to myself how going forward, since people complained about it, well, I'm just going to steal their insight and package it as my own. And then people won't be mad or care because it's literally the I was thinking about it's just like the fact that I say like, oh, and this came from this thing that maybe you didn't watch. Is like the trigger point.
Yeah.
Not just because the intel is so like tertiary at best, really.
Yeah,
you
but
know what I mean?
I get it. There's some stuff that they say on there and that's referenced on there that is a little leading, and then more to the point, the trailer for next week, like I used to be one of those people. Remember I said I never watched the trailer for next week. I want to go in completely cold.
Yeah.
And I think I trained some of the clam fam
I think you did too.
to live that way.
Yeah.
And now they're like, why have you betrayed us? What have you done? And I honestly, I don't even know how to, it just happened. It wasn't intentional. I'm sorry.
All three this week, the trailer for next week, the inside the episode, and the featurette the House the Dragons Built, very, very docile this week.
Okay.
I learned practically nothing. I mean, there were like some cool, there's some cool stuff about. Well, actually, I'll save it. But it's really just about how like they went on a bunch of cool locations this year, and especially for this episode. But they were very like not. I gleaned almost like no like insight into the future.
Yeah, that's just what you're saying, so that you can package it up as your own.
But we will be. Yeah, I'll be conscious of saying. I only know this because I watched the trailer, so fast forward 15 seconds.
Yeah,
that's what I'll do.
There we go. Remember, our show is available on all the major podcast platforms as well as in full video on youtube.com/@oystersclamscockles. Please subscribe, rate, and review if you like what we do. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, blast that like button, and leave a comment when one comes to you as you watch. Please and thank you. Follow Barrett on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram, at Barrett Dudley, Barrett Dudley, and follow me, Ross, on both of those platforms as well, at WR Bolin. Thank you very much. Follow our show. Also, just search Oysters, Clams, and Cockles on TikTok, Instagram, and X. Shall we begin, Barrett?
Let's begin.
Episode 5 starts at Driftmark in the wake of Rhaenys's death, with Corlys Valerian mourning. He walks up to and sits on the old driftwood throne and then cries for his wife.
Just a couple of tears, couple single solitary individual tears.
Just a little trickle. It's a heavy start to this one, just keeping in mind what we lost last week. And Corlys, by the way, just kind of having a rough go of it this past, decade or two, I guess. He lost his son, Rhaenyra, or he thinks he lost him anyway. Nearly died. at sea because the damn Triarchy won't stop being resurgent.
Yeah.
Lost his daughter, Rhaena, and now his wife, Rhaenys.
Yes. One of the things that I was very conscious of and thinking about through all the Corlys scenes in this episode is how we're kind of like, we're dealing with a lot of houses in House of the Dragon that we're not really familiar with because they're basically gone 200 years later by the time we get to the events as depicted in the television series Game of Thrones, HBO original. And yeah, the House Valerion is dying, man. It's fading away, and we're watching it happen before our eyes, and I'm very conscious of that because it's all slipping away.
Yeah, it's basically him with 2 granddaughters, and then I guess I would remind us all that he does have Alan, and we assume Double D Adam,
right? Yeah,
his bastards out there as well. But there's not many of these Valerions left. It's getting scary out there.
Do you think that one of those bastards might be Salton Sea?
Perhaps. Perhaps he will be. In King's Landing, the people of Flea Bottom appear to be having to ration food in the streets when Criston Cole and company roll through with the head of the traitor dragon Meleys, claiming that King Aegon slayed her at Rook's Rest, which I wondered one thing, first of all...
You mean Rook's Nest?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Rook's Nest. Right at Rook's Nest, the restaurant. Is Aemond going to be upset that they're like, this is stolen valor?
King
Aegon did not slay this dragon.
I don't know. TBD. Because it's kind of like...
Works out for him, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like when Michael passes off the golden ticket idea as Dwight's idea. But then David Wallace thinks it's a great idea because it works out. But then Michael wants the credit again. It's like the reverse of that.
Right.
This was maybe not a great idea. So yeah, sure, we'll just pawn this off on the king.
On the crispy king.
On the crispy king.
I love how they're
crispy king.
they roll through the street and they're like, pay no mind to the coffin-shaped box also in tow. With the king's well-done cadaver rocking around inside. Just keep your eyes on the massive dragon head. Pay no mind to this box. They just threw some sheets over Aegon's box and were like, that'll be fine. Nobody will notice.
Yes. And also, just, we'll get to the scene, obviously, but, kind of strange. The king is alive. He just very badly burned.
Very badly.
And they're just waltzing him through. Could they be going any slower? And then they're getting him up to the maesters, and they're just they're at a snail's pace, man.
He's suffering in there.
You'd think that they would be rushing this dude as fast as possible. Take another route. I don't know.
Come on.
Can you go around the back way? Don't put him in the main caravan. Get him a speed. They're just very casually, just nonchalantly moseying along with this dude's charred corpse.
It's a little weird.
And so it just seems like they should be moving a little bit faster. Okay. Notable this scene because the common folk, they don't like this. They do not like this dragon head being paraded through the streets.
Backfires big time, pretty much immediately.
You hear some people talking about how this is a terrible omen. That one kid says but I basically I thought the dragons were gods.
Right.
Context that I'm adding from the inside the episode right here.
Okay.
About dragons. It is not spoilery.
Okay.
It's just it's literal context. It's easy to forget that the Targaryens have been ruling for quite a while now. Under as Rhaenys told us, 80 years of peace.
Right.
And the dragons had just been hanging out, flying around, doing their thing, being majestic beasts and creatures, and they've seen and for generations they've seen other people ride Meleys, right?
It's like they're mascots.
This is a big deal because these things are supposed to be untouchable.
Right.
These are mascots of the long reign of the Targaryen rule, and as that one kid says, they are treated as gods, as beasts. You're gonna die before these dragons do.
Right.
Right.
So to have one's chopped off head being rolled through the streets, this is shocking to these people. This is not supposed to happen. This is not a good look. Yeah, the one guy says, "Mark my words, this is a black omen." And I mean, they really lay it on thick. And if you watch with subbies, it's even crazier because like you get multiple lines. Somebody yells out like, "'Tis an abomination." And then someone goes even more bold and just yells, "Rhaenyra will answer this."
Yeah.
And this is kind of a theme throughout the course of the episode. There are kind of a lot of people who are like, "Oh, Rhaenyra's gonna fucking freak out about this, man." Like random people, not like high up or like on the small councils, just like random people. And this is the first one. Rhaenyra will answer this. And Criston Cole's all bummed because people aren't fired up for his like decapitated dragon parade.
Yeah.
He says, "Don't they realize we've won the battle?" And Sir Gawain responds, "A strange victory. If it was one."
Great, just great wisdom there from my guy Gawain.
From our boy Gawain. Yeah, dude, Gawain is great. A man I believe to be Hugh, the smithy,
yes,
and a younger man, possibly his son or assistant, they look on and the younger man says, "I thought the dragons was gods." And I just want to double check. That is Hugh, right?
Hanging out with the boy that says the gods line?
Yeah, it's Hugh, right? He's the bearded one.
Hugh definitely pops up here. I'm just having a hard time picturing him with the peasant boy that says the gods line. But maybe you're right.
I'm pretty sure it's Hugh.
Okay.
And then Hugh responds, "It's just meat."
That's okay. Yes. That's Hugh. That is Hugh.
Also of note, they give us a shot here of the rat catchers still hanging from the walls.
Yeah,
and you're just like, oh, God.
Which I kind of felt was definitely like purposeful after you just heard that guy kind of invoke Rhaenyra's name as well.
Right.
This is not kosher, man. Leaving these rat catchers up for
a lot going on out here.
Several weeks now.
It's like a Joffrey move. Like when Joffrey left all the heads on spikes.
Yes.
Like Ned Stark's and George W. Bush's. Like that was disgusting and frowned upon.
They're right. They don't like that.
Yeah. No. So the people are pissed. This backfires. They're not pleased with this whole dragon parade thing. They don't like what they're seeing. And that is going to continue to build over the course of the episode. So Alicent and Aemond, like, you know, they're like up on the wall. They like watch them roll the box containing Aegon in. And Alicent kind of shoots a glance down at Aemond's waist and sees that he's wearing the catspaw dagger that he took from Aegon's crash site on his belt. He's just being brazen. Like, this dude does not care what anybody thinks. And they take Aegon's crispy body inside. Like Barrett said, I mean, it's a slow-moving caravan, this thing. You're kind of like, by the time they get him out and you realize he's still alive, it's like, guys, he very easily could have died in the hour and a half it took you to get him in here. Like, what have we been doing?
100%.
He is not in good shape as the Maesters begin their work on him, but he is alive. Like Barrett said, just very badly burned. The Maester says, quote, "His grace remains with us for the moment." So like we kind of assumed last week, he's alive, but he's probably not going to survive. It seems unlikely. Like, is there any chance in your mind right now of an Aegon comeback?
100%, yes.
So you think they've got it a little queued up. He'll just be like a burn victim.
Okay. I'm like, they don't keep him alive for now. To just have him die like a week later.
Yeah. Because what would that? What would come of that? Yeah, it wouldn't do much for the story.
And this kind of goes back to what I was saying last week. It's like I kind of called this. It felt like a little bit of a cop out that he's still alive because it certainly doesn't seem like he should be. Moving forward, I think that's the thing. I think that he is somehow going to have survived this,
and he's going to pop up, and Aemond is going to have been like running the show, and he's going to freak the fuck out.
Yeah.
And it's going to cause some big...
Now, does that mean that he doesn't die by, like some quote-unquote accident?
Right.
In a couple of episodes? Sure, maybe. But I think that he will survive these wounds. Otherwise, why do we still have him here?
Why mess with it?
Why?
And they give us a lot of screen time with him this episode if they're just going to have him pass away.
Next episode.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, when they take his armor off, layers of his skin are coming off with it. It's
great sound editing work here, by the way.
God, so disgusting, dude. Like he almost looks as bad as elderly Viserys.
I think I did an audible when they go to the knee.
Oh,
when
why?
they do like the little bone cracking into the like putting it back into the socket or whatever.
Snapped his bone back into place. They give us like a close up, and they were like, get in there real nice and tight. Reminded me of the shot in season 1 where they cut that dude's balls off. It was like, did we need to zoom in that far? Did we really need to be that close?
Yeah.
Aemond, speaking of, he strolls in. It looks just like emotionless, at the head of that bed, staring down at his burned up brother, and he says, "Someone will have to rule in his stead." Pretty
callous.
And just implying like himself, immediately. Aemond might be like a full-on sociopathic psycho killer. Like this episode really cements him as like, they keep making all these references. He's different.
Yeah. You know what he is.
He's built different.
You know what he is.
Yeah, like they keep it, and I think you're starting to see.
Yeah.
Kid's got some issues,
he's
man.
ruthless.
And if you take your mind back to season 1, like when he goes and claims Vhagar, and then he's coming back in, and the Strongs and the kids, they approach him and are like, "What the hell, man?" Like he is kind of a little nut, like a little psycho. Like he just gives terrible vibes, even as a younger version of himself in that first season. So not great. Like a horror movie serial killer. This dude, that's the vibes he's giving off now. Alicent goes and sees Criston Cole. She questions him about what the hell happened at Rook's Rest. But Cole is not giving her shit. Like he can't even look at her.
He's not very forthcoming.
No, won't even look up at her. He says a bunch of bullshit. Aegon fought valiantly, which he most certainly did not. He says he left behind a meager force to protect Rook's Rest, and of course Rook's Nest with it. And he also left the King's Dragon Sunfire behind. This line confused me. He's like, "I also left Sunfire, who was long in the dying."
Yeah.
Does that mean
he dead?
Okay.
Yeah.
Not he left Sunfire to also protect Rook's Rest.
Right.
Like he just left him because he was dying.
Yes.
Weird line.
I had to turn on subbies for that.
Yeah. Alicent even asks him specifically about Aemond and what part he was in this, like what part he played in this, and Cole's response is, "I could not say." He pled the fifth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not recall. The classic, if you're being if you're in a, what is it called? A deposition.
Right.
If you're being deposed. Fifth. I do not recall. Fifth. F-I-F.
Yeah, also notable here that he's using the old lemon and salt trick. And I don't know if you've ever cleaned your sink like this, but it works. It really, really works.
I was wondering what was with the lemon there.
Yeah. It's a cleaning mechanism. Best way to scrub up your stainless steel sink. A little baking soda and then a lemon, and then you can toss a little salt in there if you need a little bit more, like gritty action. On it. Works like crazy. The lemon is a natural
cleaner.
I was going for a bigger word, but it left my brain. So apparently this has been around for many eons.
Yeah, he's getting that blood off his sword, man.
Yeah. Gotta use the old lemon.
Good tip for all of us to keep in mind when we're cleaning our sinks or swords.
Just a really like a magical fruit, that lemon.
It is.
As we know from the Great as well. It's got many purposes.
Fantastic
uses.
point. Yes. Rhaenyra at Dragonstone is also torn up over Rhaenys's death, but I would add, like, maybe not that torn up. Like, they give us one shot of Rhaenyra, like, looking out over the balcony, and you can tell this is supposed to be her moment of mourning Rhaenys. Mm-hmm. Like, damn it. That was my most trusted female advisor. Really my only female advisor aside from Mysaria now.
Yeah.
But then she just kind of moves on pretty quickly. I just thought it was interesting. Rhaenyra did not seem to be as torn up about the loss of Rhaenys and their largest dragon, Meleys, as I thought she would be. It was just one of my notes from this episode that kind of struck me as a little strange.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah.
Her small council is once again all over her ass about their lack of an army, loss of their largest dragon, the missing Prince Damon, etc. Sir Alfred tells her women don't know dick about war. His quote is, "The gentler sex heretofore has not been much privy to the strategies of battle or their execution." Just like the fanciest way to be a sexist.
Yeah.
And Rhaenyra is quick to remind him, "There has been peace in our lifetime. You've seen no more battles than I have." That keeps coming up, all the peace that they've had, right? Mm-hmm. But a great point from her, a great rebuttal. And that boy Jace is on his way out to Dragonstone to deal with Damon when he runs into his betrothed, Baela. And their conversation somehow, I'm not clear on how, but somehow he goes from being like, I'm heading out to Dragonstone. Uncle Damon has got to be dealt with. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
And then in like 2 seconds, he's like, but the Freys.
Yeah, yeah.
At the twins. And somehow he decides to go and treat with the Freys and the twins instead. He says Cregan Stark, remember, the Stark we met in episode 1, and his graybeards, the old hags he's sending down to fight, they're marching south currently.
Yeah.
And if they were able to have a direct route into the Riverlands via the twins, then they don't need to wait around for Damon, basically. That was it. That's the gist of it. I just didn't understand how he jumped to that.
It's something that she says. She's basically like, I don't know, should you go do that? Like, isn't Damon gonna kill you, basically?
I have a better idea.
Yeah, no, but they're just talking about how they both want to be, useful. They that's a common theme here as well. Everybody in this episode, especially on Team Black, is just like trying to figure out their use, their purpose, what they can bring to the table.
Where's their place in this?
Yeah. And I think it just kind of like, snaps to him because Jace the Face, aka that boy Jace, he's got a little bit of savvy, I would say. He's a mover and a shaker.
That's true.
At least that's what I've always said about him. And he finds the better option. He finds the better deal here.
Yeah,
so
it definitely does.
He's just yeah.
So he's going to sneak off to do this without Rhaenyra's permission.
Right.
Which is a risk. It's a risk. Rhaenyra is frustrated that her small council doesn't respect her, and specifically that her dad never really taught her how to be a warrior. Like, this has come up about Viserys before, like the total lack of preparing Aegon in any way to rule, in one part because he, I don't think, expected Aegon to ever rule, but he really didn't prepare Rhaenyra all that much either. I think he was too busy dealing with all the nonsense all the time.
I mean, she does mention that, she like got to sit in and was and always like knew like who all the houses were and where they all were and all that type of stuff.
But no sword fighting, no training to be a warrior.
But I kind of felt like that was I think she was kind of like underestimating in the moment what she did learn, right? Because my takeaway was way more that her type of knowledge base was like way more Tyrion Lannister focused, for example.
Sure.
You got to drink and know things. That's how you get to strategery.
That's exactly right.
And like what's the point of knowing how to poke a sword if you don't know who to poke it at?
And again, Viserys' reign, peaceful.
Right.
Wasn't a whole lot of need for like training for combat and war strategy and whatnot, which now obviously is very relevant. But she says no one taught her the difference between hilt and foible. Barrett, which is a part of a sword that I'm unfamiliar with. Mysaria tells Rhaenyra there are other ways for her to win this war without becoming supplicant to Damon, because Damon does get brought up here. To Rhaenyra, Damon gets brought up like, hey, maybe it's time to hit up old Damon. And to Damon, Rhaenyra gets brought up, hey, maybe you should hit up Rhaenyra. And both of them are like, no, hard no.
Yeah.
But Mysaria's suggestion is weaponizing the people.
Right.
Wants them to use rumors to spread further discontent amongst the people of King's Landing. She said Mysaria has one line that I know everybody who's on accent watch with this lady was deeply disturbed by. She says, Criston Cole made a mistake. Criston. Lady, it's Criston. Criston Cole.
Nah, you know what? I'm all in on Mysaria.
You're fine with it.
Yeah.
It's the first line this season where I was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is again. She says, what you cannot do, let others do for you. There is more than one way to fight a war. So they send some girl, presumably one of Mysaria's underlings.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
To King's Landing to like fan the flames. And I mean, just based on what we see over the course of this episode, like we are 100% going to get Flea Bottom riots. Like that's happening. That's coming.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Rhaenyra also meets with Bela briefly. There's more respects paid to Rhaenys here. They kind of reminisce on Rhaenys and how she got Meleys and how, it deeply upset all these other men because no one else, Meleys was the fastest dragon living and like no one else could tame her, and Rhaenys was able to. And then she sends...
My father was so upset. That's Damon.
Oh, yeah.
Because Meleys was Damon's mother's own dragon.
Ah.
Who would not even give him the time of day, basically. She would not bend neck. No, sir.
She would not bend neck.
But she did for Rhaenys.
She bent neck for Rhaenys, though. Yeah. The old neck bending.
But yeah, I'm one thing that I'm constantly doing in this show is when she says a line like, "Oh, my father was so upset," I have to like do all this mental math to be like, and Zach Galifianakis and The Hangover, like all the numbers like flying in front of me. Like, okay, that means it's Damon, and Damon was married to Rhaena, and Rhaena is the daughter of Rhaenys and Corlys, and Damon is the brother of Viserys, and like there's so much happening.
Rain Man, yeah. So she Rhaenyra sends Bela to Driftmark with a little box.
Yeah. Did you know what was in that box?
I was pretty confident
that
it was the old Hand of the King pen.
I had no idea.
Hand of the Queen, excuse me. Hand of the Queen pen.
I was just a big old dummy, just like, oh, what's in the box?
What's in the box? So to fulfill his promise to the Blackwoods, Damon threatens the Brackens with Dragonfire if they won't bend the knee. Specifically to him. He's just stopped bringing up Rhaenyra and the Queen at this point. He's just like, I'm the guy. I'm the king. It is me.
Yeah, I would still say that he's being rather vague about it all.
I guess a little.
But I mean, I think the perfect line is when he's talking to Sir Simon, and he's like, "What would you call me?" And he's like, "King." And he says, "There it is, consort." And he's like, "That last part seems unnecessary."
Yeah.
You know, he's just like, he's. I think he's kind of acting as proxy, but it's like whatever way you want to take it is okay with him.
Yeah.
If you think that he's like full on usurping, making a claim for himself, well, that's your prerogative. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. If you want to bend the knee to Damon, thinking that you're bending the knee to Rhaenyra, he's going to take that too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's kind of using it to his advantage.
I think he's using it to his advantage, absolutely. That it's like either way works for him.
Yeah. More on this later for sure.
Love this scene out here. This is one of the ones that they point to as like, this is in North Wales, by the way.
Okay.
And North Wales just looks like the most gorgeous place on earth. Like the most stunning scenery of all types. There's beaches, there's mountains, there's vistas, there's just everything here.
Ooh, stunning.
Stunning. They got to get like 2,000 people into these foothills, but they're all super protected as like science research institution. You can't touch them. You can't. So they
pick the grass.
You can't like pick the grass. Right. But absolutely beautiful locations. I love him in like the full armor.
Oh yeah, he looks sick.
He's got the gloves on, which are so rad.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of sitting there with the, he's doing the hands on the saddle basically.
He's comfy up there.
And this was just an awesome scene. Love the little dragon leer as the guy says, "We choose fire."
Yeah.
And then just rides off like a badass.
Yeah, it was pretty sick. We got some good back and forth between the Blackwoods and Brackens. These people really, really, really do not like each other. Like they hate each other.
It's a blood feud. It is a certified blood feud.
True enough. Like you said, they choose fire. The Brackens.
Actually, I don't know if it's a certified blood feud because I don't know if there's any blood, but in between them.
It is a feud, though.
But it's a bad blood feud. And that's what it is.
Blood has been spilt as a result of it.
Sure has.
So they turn their backs to Damon and they're like riding away. And like you said, you get that scene, Caraxes lowering his head down. You think like, oh, these dudes are getting roasted.
Yep.
But follow-up scene, Damon gives us this great line. I did not think they would be so eager to die.
Yeah.
Plan didn't work out the way he thought it would, right? Willem Blackwood is pissed because Damon didn't kill the Brackens, but Damon is like, look, I came here to get men. I need swords. I'm not just out here to like roast everybody. Yep. And he suggests to Willem that because they've been fighting so long, the Blackwoods and Brackens, that maybe he should, quote, try less fighting and more persuading.
Mm-hmm.
And first watch through, I'll be honest with you, I was so confused by this conversation. I was like, what? But he basically gives Willem permission to play dirty here. That's what he's doing. He steal their women and children, burn their shit, so they have no choice but to join up with Damon. Right? And there's like a lot of unsaid communication between these two with facial cues, right? But then Damon does say, quote, there are things the crown itself should not be seen to do. Show them your worst. And that's the real giveaway, for everything that follows. taking the gloves off, you could say.
Yeah,
Damon is.
Indeed.
So then he returns to Harrenhal, where he continues tripping balls for the, third consecutive episode?
Yeah, and I would now say that the lady there,
Alice,
thank
with
you,
a Y.
Alice Rivers, I think she does have something to do with it.
Yeah, so he's apparently now banging this weird witch woman, Alice, who may or may not be drugging
Wait,
him.
Up. What? How did you infer that?
Because it literally shows him going down on her in a bed, and like there's like a weird sex scene cut together with like her voiceover talking. Oh, yeah.
You mean when he's banging his mom?
That's his mom?
The super blonde chick?
I thought that was Alice.
Nah.
So he's dreaming about banging his mom?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought when she delivers the line, like, my favorite son or whatever, that it was like Alice fucking with him somehow.
No,
so that was like a hallucination of his mother.
Of him, yes.
Oh, weirder.
Who he never met.
Ah, okay.
As Alice says later. And it's kind of a dig,
Oh, yeah,
right?
you're right. That was a blonde lady. Yeah, that's not Alice.
Yeah, you're like, who is this?
Oh, my God.
Who is
Okay.
this blonde woman that we've never seen before?
Right.
This is clearly some weird dream fever hallucination type thing.
Oh, man. Oh, it's getting weird in his
and then,
head, dude.
Yeah, that's his mom.
Some classic Freudian shit going on up there.
It's getting edible.
Wow. All right. His mom. That's his mom.
He's going
My
down.
apologies.
Yeah. Just in case you didn't get that, he's going down on his mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's what we needed. And yeah, he I think he's being drugged because he like once again comes to. I don't think he's being drugged. He's being drugged.
It seems like
He comes to at that table again, mid meeting, bro. Like he is fucking losing it here. Mid conversation, even like,
and nobody else seems to be like. I realize that all these people have been at Harrenhal for longer, but like it's not like everybody is experiencing this, hippy dippy.
Like, did you have any psychotic dreams last night about going down on your mom?
Right.
Yeah, no, it's
like,
just him.
And people keep looking at him when he's kind of coming out of these hazes. Kind of like, dude, are you okay?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
We need to throw some cold water on you, guy. Slap you around a little bit.
So yeah, it seems like maybe she is toying with him a bit.
Something is going on.
Their conversation here in a little bit is also slightly confusing.
I'll have some notes on that one for sure. Momentarily. So Damon tells Simon Strong to ready the castle of Harrenhal to receive a great host because he believes House Blackwood is in the process of bringing House Bracken to heel. So he thinks in his head, like, all right, we're about to have like 40,000 troops. We got to get this place ready for all these men to roll in.
Yeah.
And Simon Strong gives him like kind of a list of all the issues that they're going to need to deal with, and also tells him that essentially Harrenhal is covered in bat shit. There's just bat shit. Floor to ceiling everywhere. He also wants to know how Damon intends to pay for all of this preparation to the castle, since Larys Strong transferred all of House Strong's wealth to King's Landing, so they don't have any money. And he suggests that Damon ask Rhaenyra for the coin. Damon says, hell no, I will personally guarantee payment myself. So it seems like he's buying this shit on credit.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of what Aegon has been doing in King's Landing.
Everybody's just using credit, man.
The show's really going to make a point about misusing your credit here.
Yeah.
Between those two men just being like, nah, we'll pay for it later. It'll be fine. And Sir Simon Strong and him once again get into it over the title of Your Grace, and Damon being a prince / king consort. Damon gives him the line, that last bit seems unnecessary, don't you think? And it just kind of furthering this, line of questioning around whether or not Damon intends on respecting Rhaenyra as queen and heir to the throne, or if he's going completely rogue on his own. In the Vale, Rhaena meets with Lady Jane Arryn. You remember Rhaena, the other daughter of Damon and Lena, who was sent out there to the Vale with the baby dragons and the eggs. And Lady Jane Arryn is pissed that Rhaenyra did not send a full-grown fighting dragon to defend the Eyrie, which, as everyone knows, is impenetrable, except by sky. Also, Lady Arryn seemed to be the first one here to break the news to Rhaena that her grandma
that's how I took it.
is dead. She kind of did it little callously as well.
Yeah.
Women, I would just remind it, women in the Vale, in the Eyrie,
kind of kooky.
not right in the head. And that's just Lady Jane Eyre is one to keep an eye on.
It's too high up, the air's too thin up there.
Messes with you.
Yeah.
Lack of oxygen to the brain.
I think that's it.
Yeah, it's a problem. Do you want to sound like a goofy, ignorant clown like Aegon when attempting to speak a second language? Of course you don't. The best way to learn a language? Immersion. Living where the language is spoken and using it every day. But if that's not in the cards, you can still learn a language the second best way, and that's with today's sponsor, Babbel. Be a better you with Babbel, the science-backed language learning app that actually works and will ensure you never sound as goofy as Massaria when you speak. Don't pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors or waste hours on apps that don't really help you speak the language. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Babbel's designed by real people for real conversations. Babbel's tips and tools are approachable, accessible, rooted in real-life situations, and delivered with conversation-based teaching so you're ready to practice what you've learned in the real world. Babbel's courses are incredibly convenient. I've used them to try and regain my grasp on Spanish, and they make it super easy to learn how to do the simple things you need to do, like order food, or ask for directions, or speak to merchants without having to consult language apps while out and about or on vacation. Studies from Yale, Michigan State University, and others continue to prove Babbel is better. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester of college, which is wild. Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold, plus all of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. Here is a special limited-time deal just for the Clam Fam. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/OCC. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/OCC, spelled BABBEL.com/OCC. Rules and restrictions may apply. In King's Landing, the small council meets to decide what to do in Aegon's absence. The Maesters are not sure if Aegon will ever wake up. Alicent says the king cannot rule in his sleep, which is a fact, Jack. So Alicent says they got to name a regent. That's the title of the episode. To take Aegon's place until he recovers. And guess what, Barrett? She tries to elect herself.
Yeah.
And they reject her.
They do.
And they pick Aemond.
She kind of thinks she's making a move here. She's like, you put yourself up. You're gonna be bold about it. You're gonna go in there. You're gonna look at yourself in the mirror and say, I got this. And you're gonna have some confidence. You're gonna go in there.
Yeah.
And you're gonna make it happen. And like the decision's already been made, though. Basically.
Huge bummer for her.
Yeah.
Huge bummer for her. I mean, look, we had a question about this.
We did.
Would she step up and try to fill the power vacuum? And she did try.
She tried.
She just failed.
I think she kind of knew, though, going in that it like that's the feeling that I had that's kind of what I'm talking about. She's like, she's gonna go in there, hope for hope, but I think she kind of knew where this was headed, and this is exactly what we talked about last week. This is not good for her gaining any more hand back, and as we see here, as she kind of sits down and deals with the recourse, like Aemond immediately takes that ball, plops it down, and is like delegating, asking for updates.
Yeah,
he's on it. This is a totally different dynamic than it was with Aegon sitting up there not knowing what to do, just twiddling his thumbs, basically. Like there's no room for her, right? And she's not going to get a word in.
Yeah, remember the plan for Alicent and Otto Hightower was to install Aegon and then be the puppet masters.
Right.
They even said out loud on the show, he'll get over it in like a month, and then this will be our kingdom to run.
Yep.
That has completely fallen apart. Otto has been sacked by the now toasty king. He's gone back to their homeland. Alicent has absolutely zero power. Aemond has stepped up and completely taken over. And then it's a bunch of other men who just remind, the Dowager Queen is a woman, after all.
Yeah.
And women are not strong.
And losing like, all of the connections to the seat of power that she had, right? Because she's essentially like in the here and then in the next 5 minutes, she's betrayed by both of her once loyal men.
Dude, yeah. Criston Cole does not back Alicent, despite having blown her back out. And then, he can't even really look at her.
No. He's having a hard time looking at anybody, it seems. But
very good point. because at this point in the episode, I was like, man, he's so ashamed that like he can't look at Alicent. We get more information about what's actually going on inside of his head in a bit.
Yep.
But also Larys does not back Alicent, which was a little more surprising, but Larys is a wily guy. He knows he can't be the only man in this room to stand up and be like, it should be her.
Right.
They'll just do away with his ass too.
Yeah.
So it's rough to not get backed by the guy who cranked to your feet or the dude that you had to get a schmishmorshman because of like literally last week.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
rough stuff for Alicent, which again I would just note seems like pushing her further in the direction of potentially changing sides eventually.
She's a player to watch.
Yeah.
And I think we can leave it at that. But she's getting pushed out. She is, being spurned by all of these people. She's realizing that one of her kids is potentially a vegetable and the other is a monster. Yeah. She's one to watch.
So Aemond is elected regent and takes Aegon's meeting marble and his seat at the head of the table. And like Barrett said, pretty much gets straight to business. And as we get this great shot of Alicent as like the voices in the room sort of die out. She's just zoned out.
Yeah.
Like she cannot believe what is happening. It's kind of like hitting her like a wave here. Like, oh my God, we've completely lost control of this thing.
Yep.
This is a real mess. And a lot of people are probably going to die. This is going to get much, much worse. And you can hear them in the background, like they're talking about the small folk, the townsfolk panicking over food. Mm-hmm. And Aemon's response is like, oh, because they tell him a bunch of people are fleeing.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, well, lock down the city then. No big deal. Just lock the gates. Nobody in or out unless they have our consent. And when he drops that line, Alicent's face turns to like horror.
Yeah.
And she looks over at him like, I can't believe it. She doesn't speak up though, doesn't even try, just has to sit there.
Think it's like almost like on the tip of her tongue. Like I really thought she was going to be like, that's a fucking terrible idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
But it's like she wants him. I can't tell if she wants him to have to deal with like.
Maybe.
Yeah, you'll see how easy this is once the fucking blowback from this occurs. Or if she's just so rattled, who knows. But Aemond also orders them to get someone to cut down the fucking rat catchers. Back in Flea Bottom, Hugh's wife wants them to flee the city. She sees the situation is deteriorating. They're broke. They're running out of food. Their kid is sick, right? She says about, them bringing Meleese's head through the streets. You think Rhaenyra will let such an affront go unchallenged? It's like another suggestion that there's sort of this, this idea that Rhaenyra is going to have a counterattack, a response to what they've done to Meleese. So Hugh and his family try to leave, but they get to the gate, like, of course, right as the gate is closing, and this huge crowd builds up. When the gates are locked shut, mob starts to form. Suddenly there's a guy in the back that's like, meat! We want meat! And then everyone's like, that is right, we do want meat! Meat! Everyone's demanding meat.
Is that, okay,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're here to correct that, because I thought that he said that they wanted mead.
Mead.
And everybody was going batshit because there was no beer left.
Where's the mead? We need mead. Yeah, they want meat.
Meat, okay.
And shit is just, it's getting ugly in the streets.
Honestly, that makes more sense.
Yeah. The rat catchers are finally cut down. And as that's taking place, Alicent goes over to talk to Criston Cole. I was kind of surprised she's just like walking around in the streets here, but I guess this is like right outside the wall.
It must be.
Right?
It's got to be right.
And there's a lot of men right there still. But Alicent warns Criston Cole that he knows what Aemond is. Mm-hmm. She's like, you know what Aemond is, what he has somehow become, which again, it's just these lines that are like, what do y'all know that you haven't told us? Because we've seen him do some pretty fucked up shit, but like, was he like torturing small animals and like, is he full Joffrey style psycho? Like, what is happening?
Do you think that there is stuff that they just haven't revealed yet? Or do you think that we are just supposed to take it as like, he is a like
disturbed?
Not even disturbed, but he is a borderline psycho-sociopath. He is ruthless. He is not easily manipulated. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just basically, like I don't know exactly what they mean. I'm just also struggling to believe that there's like some big, deep, dark, secret thing that they're not telling us. I just feel like so far, the way that they're talking about him and what we've seen on screen don't totally match up yet. Because basically we've just seen him be like a a ruthless, hard-ass warrior, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you
that's willing to kill his own kin to get to the throne, but he hasn't really done any like he's not murdering prostitutes like Joffrey. He's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so let's just doing a little Aemond, background here. Accidentally kills Lucerys with Vhagar.
Yeah.
Not really like a savage act of, psychotic behavior. It's like more of an accident. Like he was clearly trying to scare the kid and things went horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that would, the scene is pretty clear cut.
Right.
Did not mean for that to happen. He's got this situation going on at the whorehouse with his OG prostitute, the person he lost his virginity to or whatever, that he like curls up with her naked and does some weird therapy sessions. Had the lines in season 1 where he's like, "'Tis I who studies the histories and the philosophies, and it should be me." Pretty clearly took out his brother intentionally last week, but there's nothing. It's just not matching up with the way Alicent talks about him.
Really, more it just seems like he would be like a really, really like hard-fisted authoritarian style ruler that doesn't show any mercy and is like kind of psycho.
Yeah, but like I said, he's kind of seemed that way since he was a little kid. So I don't know why she's saying, what Aemond is, what he has somehow become.
And I think besides the Dracarysing of his own brother, I think what we're missing is that they're acting like he's like out here doing depraved ass shit, and we have not seen that level of like scumminess from him yet.
Right. Yeah.
It's all more,
well, pretty normal for Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Right? That's where the disconnect is, I think.
Yeah.
Alicent also calls out Criston Cole for kind of casting her aside, and he's like, "Look, lady, I have PTSD from Rook's Rest and Rook's Nest." He says, makes some really good points. They gave the war over to the dragons.
Yeah.
They should be led by a dragon rider, which is a fair argument to me. And he also gives her a great line. "Have I not spared you? What we must do now is terrible. Will you preside over it? Is that who you are, Alicent?" So she's like, "What the hell, man? Why didn't you back me in the small council meeting?" And he's like, "You don't want this job.
Right.
What we're about to have to do is going to be very, very frowned upon in the history books.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to roast a lot of people alive.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fucking bloodbath." But she doesn't quite take his points well, I don't think. She does say, "I don't give you permission to call me Alicent," because it was weird hearing that come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But again, a kind of a note that she has lost all of her power and respect. He's just calling her by her first name now.
Yeah.
So
meanwhile, our little puppy friend, he's looking mangier than ever.
Still following this dude's body around.
It's a tough look for him. I hope he gets, once there's food back in the city, I hope he gets adopted by Hugh and his family because they seem nice.
He needs a good home. He needs a good home, and they do seem nice. And that would just be a win-win for both sides because they need a pick-me-up in that house too, and everybody loves a good dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hugh definitely is not going to be more important than just being a
dog owner who adopts, not shops.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's why he's there.
That's the story arc. He's a brightly blonde-haired smith. The crown owes him money, but in the end, he'll find happiness rather than wealth when he adopts.
Not shops.
Not shops.
Okay, you brought up his hair, so we have to talk. The hair it stands out.
Yeah.
He's a blonde guy.
Yeah, he's a real blonde guy.
He's got real blonde hair.
Real blonde.
We know people with blonde hair. Hugh is going to be doing something. Dat boy Jace goes and treats with the Tullys or representatives of the Tullys, but not the Tullys because the Tully guy is
I think they're the phrase.
Okay. But they're representing their
liege lord is Grover Tully.
Right, but he's incapacitated or whatever.
Yeah, and somehow, I don't know the history here. I don't know how this all plays out, so I don't understand. Jace tells us early in the episode, right, when he's about to go, that the phrase control the twins, right?
Right.
Or that at the very least they control that bridge. They control the passageway, which I think is the twins.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the twins.
The two twin towers on either side and the bridge across them.
Yes.
They want Harrenhal. The phrase do. So that's their little... But
that's what they're asking for.
But yes, I guess the Tullys still are...
Technically the liege lords?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think the Tullys are the liege lords of the Riverlands.
I believe you're correct.
In much the same way that the Starks are like the liege lords of the North, even though there are other houses in the North that have castles and shit.
Right, because remember when the Bracken or whatever, one of the Grover Tully's grandson comes and meets with Damon.
Yep.
And Damon is like, kill your grandpa. And he's like, no, what is wrong with you? Oh my God, is that why you brought me here? And he's like, fuck these people. Bring me the Blackwoods. Let's get some dirty war going.
Right.
Yeah. So that's still the Riverlands. The Riverlands is like kind of the big place of interest in this season, frankly, for all sides.
Yeah, and you know, we'll see later with more of the Damon storyline, but they're just I would call them unruly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're really like there's just a lot of people in these parts.
You got River Lords,
a lot of names,
Blackwoods
and
Brackens and Tullys and
a lot
Freys.
of feuds. It's a different culture than the South or the North.
Yeah,
and they're like you know, they're hard headed out here.
Tough to wrangle.
Wrangle these people. Absolutely, which is kind of the case, honestly, in Game of Thrones as well.
True.
You know.
Yeah. There's a lot of problems as a result of these folks.
In the Riverlands. Yeah. Yes.
So, like Barrett said. They're meeting in the middle of the bridge, by the way, which I just thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, and the table is looks like it's like a giant door.
Yeah, right. Yes, and they say they'll do it. Like, yes, we'll let Cregan Stark's men cross here in exchange for Harrenhal. Which, just first off, that's a mistake.
That's a mistake. Yeah.
Don't want Harrenhal, as we've said time and again. Not a great place.
People keep wanting it.
God,
people keep wanting it. Even Littlefinger. That's what he wanted.
It's the Tobias meme. It doesn't work out for anyone else, but it might work for us.
It is.
Jace says Harrenhal, like for Harrenhal, his mother is going to want more than just their crossing. And they're like, what will her grace require? And he says, bent knees. And then just like purses his lips again.
Knees? Knee?
Bees. How'd you think Jace handled himself here? This little negotiation.
Yeah. Yeah,
did decently, right?
Yeah, I would say that Jace the Face. I would kind of equate him to one Reed Shepherd, Houston Rockets rookie.
Oh, recent draftee,
number 3 overall. He's just out here. He's brand new to the scene, but he's just tearing up Summer League.
Yeah,
and people are already saying that he's like too good for Summer League, and they gotta elevate him and get him out of there because he's too important. He's you know.
Hot start.
He's just hot. It's a hot start here,
but also maybe doesn't mean anything.
Yes, great. Yeah, 100%.
That's where we're at with.
That's where we're at with Jace. You know, this is a veteran move from a rookie, and hopefully it isn't just fool's gold.
Fair point. It is a veteran move from a rookie. Like giving someone random giving them Harrenhal to get them to do something you want is a move that Tyrion does with Littlefinger, and that's what this kid is doing. The obvious issue is that they don't have Harrenhal. Damon has Harrenhal, and I felt like he showed strength here. He was a solid negotiator. He was like, y'all are worried about Vhagar. I've got my dragon right there. I will literally burn this whole shit to the ground. And that's when they kind of changed their tone and they're like, okay, we should probably negotiate here. He has a point. But it did feel like one of those things. This scene felt like one of those scenes in Game of Thrones that backfires eventually.
Very possible.
Yeah.
And I would just also say that one thing that we know about the phrase, not the most trustworthy family.
No. These people are ass, and I was so freaked out by this whole setup here.
And I will add, not to be judging a book by its cover, but I feel like the casting decisions here for these two people were also very intentional. They just they looked kind of squirrely, man.
Definitely,
right? Like they kind of had a funky look going on.
Yeah.
They're like, you know,
you don't trust those two people.
Exactly,
we don't trust those two people.
Yeah.
So in Harrenhal, its current owner, Damon Targaryen, is helping gather firewood while experiencing continued mild hallucinations.
Yeah, big work for Damon here. I think he chops at least 7 pieces of firewood.
Yeah, he's really contributing to the overall workload. Alice, the weird witch lady, approaches him and sees to his hand wounds because he's chopped 6 pieces of firewood and that really, rubbed his hands raw.
You should have put gloves on.
She tells him that she's hearing things about what's happening in Brackenland. That's her words, not mine. It's called Brackenland. with women and children being ripped from their homes, right? This is what Damon signed off on
The persuasion.
Willem Blackwood to do. Damon, it's a pretty long back and forth here. She ends up bringing up the queen, making a jest about like doing this all for the queen, of course. And Damon outright says to Alice with a Y that Rhaenyra cannot succeed, that he has to take the throne because the men who support Rhaenyra will never be led by her, you know, because she's a woman. That's a point made over and over and over and over in this episode. Like, women cannot be leaders. Women cannot be leaders. Women cannot be in charge. And this is the first time we've really heard him break, though, because the quote from him is, "When I take King's Landing, Rhaenyra is welcome to join me there and take her place by my side. King and queen ruling together." So we've talked a lot about over the last few weeks, like what is this dude's deal? Like, is he going to flip on her? And he seems to be confiding in Alice that he is in fact going to flip on her and take this thing for himself and then allow her to come and be his queen consort while he is the leader.
Yeah. Yes. I still feel like he's just kind of
going through it.
Well, yes, but he's also still, to me, a little bit both sidesing it. I do agree. This is the biggest, most explicit admission of like, yes, I will take that shit for myself.
Right.
That we've heard. But at the same time, he's not. He's like, yeah. So I guess technically it is like it would be him usurping her in a way. But yeah, I don't know. This is all a gray area.
Yeah. Here's
right.
Let's make the wrinkle even harder to read. I'm pretty sure Alice is a ghost or a spirit of some kind.
Okay.
No one else ever acknowledges her. Like on some Sixth Sense type shit.
Okay.
And this scene is the first one where this like clicked for me. I was like, oh my God, I don't think anyone else can see this woman, because Sir Simon approaches and interrupts them. And Sir Simon, like when he walks up, she walks away and disappears behind him. So when she walks behind him, she never pops out the other side. And like I watched the scene back and again, just to be like, okay, what? And I'm pretty confident she is not actually there. And then Sir Simon, to make it even more clear cut, he looks over where Damon was staring to be like, what the fuck are you looking at? Where she was.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally official. We have a Ross theory.
So she's definitely flesh and blood. But in my theory, she's a ghost. I think, or she's not physically there and she's doing this from afar or some shit like that.
You're due to hit on one, though.
One day.
Right? Like, you're due.
I mean, it's been a few misses in a row. So I'm really going out on a limb here. But I think that lady is a ghost.
Okay.
I think she's a ghost.
I mean, I don't have an argument against it at the moment. She wraps up his hand, but he could just be wrapping up that hand, too.
Yeah, one of those things.
Right?
Watch the scene again where she walks away, though.
Yeah, I will.
It's really telling. She's almost walking away, like, slowly, like a ghost would, you know what I mean? And then she never pops out the other side of him.
It would make sense, too, as this just kind of, like, manifestation of his kind of conscious, basically. Like this kind of push and pull of how he wants to do this. He kind of wants to enter this betrayal area, but also at the same time, like, I think where I'm kind of like what I'm pushing back on a little bit with it is that I don't think that he would hurt Rhaenyra. I do not think that he is going to line up troops against hers. Do you know, right?
I hope not.
That I don't foresee that happening. I think there's too much, you know, too much history, too much love there. I was struck in this episode by the kind of the parallels, the kind of mirroring of that we talked about a little bit earlier with like both of them being asked about the other.
Right.
And both of them basically being like, no, like we're not doing that yet. Like they're both using all of their, you know, going to all other means to achieve their ends before they have to like
run back to the
reconcile and run back or run back to the other.
Yeah.
And so it's certainly a question. I'm not saying that I think that they will rejoin forces, but I neither is really like, you know, both feet in on being out. on the other, if that makes
Completely
sense.
agree. And we have one more scene where there's a little bit more of that, so I'm gonna save the rest of my thoughts for then. But yeah, so
Mark it down. Mark down the Ross theory, everybody.
Yes.
Alice Rivers,
Ghost.
not real, ghost.
Simon informs Damon that the Blackwoods have succeeded with their dirty tactics and House Bracken is indeed now his. I would like a little more information about how exactly that unfolded. They're like, all right, you took all our women and burned everything. We give up. Like, what the fuck?
I thought this rubbed on me a little bit too.
Just a little random. I mean, I wanted some explanation.
Yeah, I don't know. They're not worried about like their entire village, family, and people like being burned by a dragon, but then like this type of dirty war gets them. Do you know what I mean? Right?
Maybe it's a kidnapping situation. Like you get all the women and children back if you.
Well, yes, for sure. I think that's what they did. I think it was essentially like a ransom, but
that's not going to work long term.
It doesn't seem like that will work long term. I'm curious that like the feud is so dirty and bad between these two families. Like, how has this type of shit not happened already?
How are you going to put these dudes in the same crew and roll them out onto a battlefield and expect them not to turn on each other? Isn't that exactly what's going to happen?
Yeah. I've got a lot of questions about this.
This is a terrible plan from Damon here.
To that point, it's going poorly. It doesn't seem like it's actually going to work out, or at least he's facing pitfalls immediately thereafter.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So in the middle of the night, Damon wakes to Sir Simon telling him the River Lords have come, okay? And they demand an audience immediately. It's the hour of the wolf, and Damon has to go see them. And the River Lords inform him that the Blackwoods have burned sacred septs as well as fields and farms. They have stolen livestock, and they've put their peasants to the swords. Quote, the Blackwoods have exploited the war for the crown to visit atrocities on their old rivals. And they did all this shit while carrying the banner of House Targaryen. So they're very, very upset with Damon, and Damon barely hanging on during this conversation. He sees like a vision of Rhaena talking to him. He sees like Alice again out of the corner of his eye. Like he has to like cover his face at one point. He's like got his hand up on the wall. He's struggling as hard as you can struggle. And these people are just like bitching him out. And then they bail. We get a shot of them like riding away from Dragonstone, kind of on our way out of this episode, which leads me to believe something is going to happen to them on their way out. Like, I don't know if the River Lords are going to make it away from Dragonstone safely. Like, they might get roasted by Caraxes. It's just a thought.
I didn't feel that way.
Yeah. Why'd you think they gave us that one more shot of them riding away angrily then, I guess?
I can't picture the
So it's a
shot
random, there's a bunch of cuts between, it's like 2 or 3 different locations, and one of them is just randomly these guys on horseback riding away through a forest, and I was like, who the fuck are they? Oh, looks like those are the River Lords that Damon just met with. And I thought they were going to give us some kind of a conclusion to that right here at the end of this episode when they show them riding away. But now I'm thinking like next week might open with the River Lords getting roasted, possibly.
Yeah, I don't think so. Because I took more like, I think Damon it felt like he is being taught a bit of a lesson here. Now, I have no idea where that goes, but yeah, I don't know. It seemed like they were going to be let go here, because you could see a real psycho Damon not let them leave that room, basically for the affront, essentially, of waking him up at 3 a.m.
Yeah, but he's high as hell.
And then also being like, hey, by the way, fuck you. We're not calling our banners for your sick ass.
Yeah, they straight up tell him.
So
we're out on you, dude. You stink. We are not fans.
So burning all of those people doesn't seem like it's going to win any more banners, you know what I mean, at the moment. But yeah, TBD on the Riverlands and the River Lords.
Barrett and I were hoping Damon would get out of Harrenhal. This may be a situation where he is stuck there the whole season. There's more that needs to unfold here. I don't think he's leaving.
But at least he is getting out of the castle. You know, at least we go meet the Brackens or whoever. There's a little bit more happening, and it didn't. Him being at Harrenhal, it did not bother me as much this episode, because I think at least he's being talked about in other conversations, and then he's also doing more at Harrenhal besides just like kind of like skulking around the hallways,
and losing his mind.
Yeah.
Bela goes and sees Corlys. They do some more co-mourning of Rhaenys. She gives him a pep talk. kind of just like getting him fired up about just like,
Right.
you know, being the Lord of the Tides in general.
Yeah.
Tells him that Rhaenyra has named him Hand of the Queen and gives him the pin. And Corlys' response is, even the death of my wife does not content her. Just wants more and more. He's really impressed, though, by Vale in this scene. So much so that he's like, granddaughter, I would name you heir to Driftmark. And she refuses, saying, I am blood and fire. Driftmark must pass to salt and sea. This is a great scene from her. And I thought one of the points was that she is showing the strength that all these men in this episode repeatedly express that women do not have, that they do not possess.
Sure.
And like, here's one right here. And she's a young girl even.
Yep.
And she's a fucking badass. Like, so yeah, gives him the Hand of the Queen pin, and later in the episode, Corlys ends up like clutching the pin on the Driftwood throne, which would lead me to believe he's accepting the job.
Close up of an item followed by a hand clenching on it. That's a yes.
That's an accept.
Yes.
Yes, an affirmative.
Huzzah.
And on that note, Barrett, I have a present for you today. I would name you Hand of the Podcast.
Oh, wow.
Don't stab yourself
Look
with it,
at
though.
that thing.
Yeah.
Boy.
It's as real as they come.
That's weighty.
Straight from Jeff Bezos.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to poke this entire thing through my t-shirt.
I wouldn't.
As I don't care to ruin this t-shirt.
I wouldn't either.
But yeah.
Maybe next week you wear a shirt you don't care about,
and I can
or
just,
for Patreon later this week, and we can
no,
slap that bad
I'll-
boy on there.
I will have it pinned. Post haste.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hand of the podcast. Rhaenyra meets with Lord Alfred, and she's like, oh, Alfred, you were right. We're in a bad spot. I need you to go to Harrenhal and talk with Damon. Find out whether or not he intends to raise a host for me or for himself. So, just an important note, Rhaenyra seems very aware of the possibility of Damon turning.
Yep.
Even drops the quote, like, because Alfred's response is, he wouldn't dare. And she's like, have you known Damon to lack in daring? This really pleased me because so often in shows and these narratives, like, she would absolutely expect that her uncle husband may betray the shit out of her here.
Yeah.
And it's great that she actually has that in her mind. She says to tell him, I would much like to finish our last conversation. What did you think that meant?
I think that meant I thought that was a good move by her because he basically like what's your message basically? What do you want me to tell him from you? And I thought that was a good way to just be like that. I didn't feel that conversation was over. That discussion is still open.
We can totally come back together.
This bridge is not burned.
Okay, yes.
It was just like, I just need reassurance that we are in this together, basically. Like, it was basically saying, like, this bridge is not burned. Like, let's hash this out and figure shit out.
Come home, daddy.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. I'm worried about Alfred.
Yeah.
I don't think getting sent to Harrenhal is great.
It doesn't seem great.
And I don't think Damon's in a very good place.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about Alfred.
And when you have to tell somebody that you're going to send like 3 of your best dudes with them to protect their safety is then in question.
Yeah.
That's how this works.
Yeah. There's no better way to make lasting memories than by getting out and seeing some live music, going to concerts, and attending live sporting events. Everybody knows this, and that's why today's sponsor, Game Time, is so freaking awesome. Game Time makes getting tickets for concerts and events faster and easier, even if you don't buy tickets right away. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to showtime. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying concert tickets. I've got the old Game Time app pulled up on my phone right now as we speak, and right now in Austin I can grab tickets to a ton of live comedy shows, Austin FC soccer matches. We got WWE coming up here in August, just constant concerts in the city. We're known for our music, Barrett.
We are live music capital of the world. That's what they call us.
Game Time has it all and makes it incredibly easy to find and buy tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. It's also just extremely helpful to keep up with all the events in your area. If you're like me and you're fairly unplugged from the social pipeline, I can just open up the Game Time app and see what's coming up on the calendar, see what's happening tonight, grab last-minute tickets if I'm feeling spontaneous. Also, they hit you with flash deals, zone deals. You can check out the view from all of the seats in the venue before you purchase, so you will know exactly where you are sitting. You will not be bamboozled With the last minute deals, by the way, you get up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Game Time also offers lowest price guarantees, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and so much more. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DRAGON. $20 off your first purchase when you use code DRAGON. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DRAGON, DRAGON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So, to close out today's show, the girl Rhaenyra sent to King's Landing, she sneaks in by seeking out one of the gold cloaks Massaria has a connection to, probably in her employ.
Yep.
He gets her inside, and then I think what we see is she knocks on a door, and a girl opens it, and I'm pretty sure it's the barmaid that Aegon assaulted that we then see serving drinks to Ulf and that crew. Diana.
Okay.
Dyana. Diana.
All right.
Yeah.
I certainly did not make that connection.
I think it was her anyway. It might have been Hugh.
It was not Hugh. It was a woman.
No, I know. I was kidding.
She did seem blonde.
I'm pretty sure it's her. I'm pretty sure it's her.
Okay. All right.
Because we wondered, why show her again? Is she going to play some role in this? I think she's kind of a side character.
No sign of Ulf yet, though.
No, not in this episode.
Yeah.
Just Hugh.
Just Hugh.
Multiple times through.
Yes.
We see Aemond walk into the throne room, and he's just kind of admiring the throne, and Helena pops up out of fucking nowhere and asks him, was it worth the price? So she seems to know what he has done.
She is a seer.
Everyone seems to know, though, because Alicent also kind of seems to know. Criston Cole seems to know. It's like everybody's I think Aemond might have killed Aegon, and we're just going to not talk about this.
Yeah.
Because this is
for now.
Because if they talk about it, then what?
Right.
If Aemond is out, then who's the heir?
Well, how would they get Aemond out?
They'd have to kill him or accuse him of...
Right. And I don't think they have any proof.
Yeah, you're right. So it's problematic all around.
Yeah.
Green team is in a real world of shit. Alicent goes to see Crispy Aegon, and she kind of just sits with him for a few minutes, and then when she's pondering all of her mistakes in life and how she got here, when she leaves, he lets out a mummy.
Yep.
Which is funny because he's wrapped up like a mummy.
Yeah. Well, that's why he says it, right?
He was declaring himself mummy.
Yeah. I did. I rewound, put on the subtitles to hear what he
Mummy.
says. It's mummy.
Mummy.
So, an
Alive.
indication that he is
Recovering
and waking. Right?
That's a big thing to get a word out, dude.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, I just am so curious what he's going to look like once they've got him back up and moving around. There's going to be a gnarly scene with him at some point, losing it on Aemond, I feel like. Back on Dragonstone, Dat Boy Jace goes to see Rhaenyra, who is studying the histories. She's checking out Visenya, Vagar's first rider and the first wielder of Dark Sister, now Damon's sword that he uses. Jace, referencing Visenya, says, I hope you would not use her as an example. And Rhaenyra responds, why shouldn't I? He's like, it was a long time ago. I was just curious. I was like, what the hell did Visenya do? But my guess is she went and actually fought in the battles. She's this renowned warrior.
Okay. Yeah.
And Jace is I hope you don't go do the Visenya thing. And because we just talked about this repeatedly, you can't go fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Not some atrocity that Visenya committed.
Okay.
Rhaenyra, understandably pissed at Jace for going and treating in the twins without her permission. But she does thank him.
And really pissed that even he can do stuff. And she can't.
Great point.
Right?
Yeah.
This is back to the people she is getting cabin fever. She is feeling useless. The council doesn't really respect her. They're not letting her lead. Basically, to Damon's point, she's just being put on a pedestal because she is the quote unquote sovereign. So she must be protected because this is what this is all for. But the very nature of that limits her own.
Power.
Her own control and power.
I mean,
right?
it's a similar problem to what Aegon was facing. They're like, you're a figurehead.
Yes.
Shut up. Nobody wants to hear you talk. Go play.
Right. So there's also, I think, just almost jealousy that Jace at least has the agency to disobey an order, right?
Yeah.
And get out there and make
be a part of it.
Be a part of it. Make
be
a move.
Productive.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Because she does. She is. shows gratitude for what he went out and did, right? Like it was a potentially good move for them.
Yeah. Tells her the phrase, want Harrenhal in exchange for their loyalty. She thanks him for his service, but, just kind of both a combination of complaining about like how she can't contribute and also sort of schools him on why he's important and needs to be careful.
Right.
She has moments in this scene with her vocal inflections where she really reminded me a ton of Viserys for the first time, maybe ever. Like she's like, shall I fight for my birthright or shall I wait here until we are all destroyed? The way she delivers that line was very, very, very Viserys that I cannot replicate, so I'm not even going to try. She ends up saying like, I need dragons. And so they discuss what to do about the situation with Vhagar, right? The Vhagar is the big problem they've got to overcome. And they decide they need to find riders for their two largest dragons. Vermithor, which we've been talking about, but then also Silverwing. And I love, they have Dat Boy Jace like turn to the camera, serve face, and he's like, we have two large dragons, count them, that could really go up against Aegon, Vermithor, and Silverwing. And he like shoots the camera a wink, just to make sure everybody's like really absorbing these two names. It's really odd. So their plan is they're going to find long-lost relatives to become dragon riders. As Rhaenyra says,
they're going to bust out all those scrolls on the wall.
It's a mad thought.
It's a mad thought.
Yeah. And then that's it. Yeah. She likes it. She likes it a little crazy.
I love an ending to a Thrones or Dragon episode that's just like, it's not like breathtakingly cliffhangery or anything beyond just like, this is where we're ending it.
Yeah.
Like it's a nice little, now here's what we're going to do moment, but it's like a moment of calm, which we just don't get often at the end of these episodes, right? They're usually like, we're usually kind of like sprinting to a finish, something big happens, we've got a few other things, and it's like, kind of like
gut-wrenching heartbreak,
like
or
like a big drop type ending. And this was just more two people, wheels are turning.
Yeah.
They're going to do some reading.
Some research.
And it's a mad thought.
We need an ancestry like DNA sponsor so that I can shout one out as a result of this storyline. But we were suspicious of this, man. Like they were introducing all these random people. We've got this fucking guy Ulf at some bar who's like, I'm actually a Targaryen. Hey, isn't that wild? Yep. Don't tell anybody. They'll totally kill me. We were suspicious that they were probably going to try to find some dragon riders that like some relatives they can stick on these big guys that they've got down there in the old, dragon cave or whatever on Dragonstone. And here it is. They hatched this little plan here at the end, and they're going to go and do that. So
over under next episode, failed dragon riders.
100. Okay. So over under on how many we see fail?
Yeah.
I'm going to say 2 or 3.
Okay.
Let's say 3.
All
the over under is 2.5.
2.5. Okay. All right.
Okay, because we're getting at least a couple scenes.
I think so.
Where they're like, all right, Danny, you're up. Get on up there and climb on Vermithor. And Vermithor just fucking eats this dude. It's not going to go super well at first, I don't think. It does seem like the idea here is for them to hold tryouts.
Yeah.
They're going to they're just going to send out a bunch of ravens like, yo, you're our sixth cousin twice removed. We need you to roll over here to Dragonstone. We're just trying something out. We don't want to tell you what it is up front, but just come through. We're going to also provide lunch.
It's a big opportunity.
It's a huge
opportunity.
Huge opportunity to advance your family's name and become like crazy wealthy. Like, just come through and, best of luck to you. Yeah, I'm so fucking excited to see how this goes. Just because it's such an outlandish idea that almost sounds stupid when you say it out loud. Like, they're going to hold tryouts to try and see who can ride a dragon. But if you told me that's an episode I get to watch of House of the Dragon, I would be like, fuck yes, sign me up. That sounds outrageous. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
So, Barrett, we kind of predicted this week would be, a bit of a come down after the madness of last week in the battle at Rook's Rest and Rook's Nest, the loss of Rhaenys. They needed to reset the board, as you like to put it. I thought they did a really nice job of that.
Totally. The show is humming. That's a huge compliment to it. A lot of great scenes here. Continued moving things along, but no giant moments, and the show doesn't need one every episode.
Yeah, and it reminds me of Game of Thrones' first 4 seasons. The pace of the show was almost one of the most important elements because they would give you give these storylines time to build. Right? And then later on, when Game of Thrones kind of went off the rails, it was because they sped up the pace so much. They were like, all right, we don't have time for people talking in rooms anymore and all this little shit. Like big scenes, big battles, big moments only. These types of episodes are crucial, I think, to the pacing of the season and to kind of bringing you back down to earth and letting you settle into the story and enjoy some of the smaller characters and some of the, like, you know, the movement that is taking place strategically. And like both of these places, both of these teams, Team Black and Team Green, are in total chaos right now. So like you need this. You need these episodes to help you feel like you really understand the characters and the direction things are going. So I was really impressed with this, man. It scratched an itch for me, you know, and not every episode needs to end with Criston Cole and Alicent banging. Not every episode needs to end with somebody dying or some insanely tragic beheading. Sometimes you just two people talking in a room coming up with a fucking stupid idea.
A mad thought.
That they can execute next week. Yeah. Very exciting stuff. Any other thoughts on the episode on our way out there?
Oh, I just, as I mentioned, I have been continuing to watch the House That Dragon Built. And my one ad from that is that this show is so GD expensive.
Yeah.
And my guess is that that's why it's 8 episodes, because the amount of money that they spend on this, I think they just have like a bottomless pit of money. They're just like, spend what it takes.
Yeah.
But the level of things that they are able to do here, creatively, makeup wise, prosthetically, location, set design, graphics, VFX, like CGI, like everything. It's just like, I love that they have these things, even if you're choosing not to watch them until the end of the season, because it's just like, it really, 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 really helps you appreciate just the operation as a whole. And yeah, that's, you know, I kind of wish there were 10 episodes, but also 8 is a nice number too.
It's not bad. I'm happy, especially because a lot of them they're all long. They haven't had like
long,
a 45-minute episode.
Exactly, no 45-minute episodes yet. And also I get it. And if everyone like looks this good, feels this good, is paced this well, then it's like, it's all just a win-win.
What I'm doing, if you're one of the people who's like, no House That Dragon's Built for me, I don't want to know more, it takes me out of it, I'm watching like 3 weeks behind. So rather than watching the House That Dragon's Built for the episode I just watched and having that episode feel a little bit more like make-believe, you know?
That's fair.
I watched episode 2 of House That Dragon's Built last night, and Barrett is 100% correct. It will give you an insane different angle of appreciation for what they're doing here. This is fucking... It's absurd.
It's absurd, yeah.
And I know the point you're making when you say, like, I think it's just a bottomless pit of money. I think it's even more credit to these people that it isn't.
That it's not.
They do have an actual budget that they have to operate within, and they're like still able to plan this fucking craziness out. And it's a lot of money, don't get me wrong. They have a large budget, but dude, it is mind-blowing when you see what goes into creating the show. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Like, if you love the show, you will love this documentary. It is so sick. If you have to, just wait till the end of the season.
Wait till the end of the season.
It.
Save it as a nice little treat for yourself at the end of the season if you're not keeping up week to week, for sure.
But it is fucking, I mean, these people, there are a lot of people who work on this show that are a lot smarter than me. Because I'm like, I couldn't, no, I couldn't do that. Remember, in addition to our sponsor-based public episodes, we record and release an ad-free episode every Thursday of this season exclusively on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles, where Barrett and I dive deeper into each episode with further digestion and discussion driven by hotline calls from our listeners. Subscribe on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles now and enjoy a 7-day free trial so you can see how awesome those episodes are when this Thursday's drops with further coverage of episode 5 of season 2. There are also 4 existing episodes on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles from this season of House of the Dragon already, with a ton of great hotline calls from the Mollusk Militia. We're having a blast on Patreon. Get in there, patreon.com/oystersclamscockles. Also, please support our sponsors all season long by using the URLs and codes provided in the description of this episode. That is how we stay in business. Check out the Ross Bolin podcast, hosted by me, with weekly drops wherever you get OCC. If you're an F1 fan, check out Formula Bone at youtube.com/@FormulaBone. Also on the podcast platforms, follow on social media at Formula Bone if you're an F1 fan. If you're watching The Acolyte, check out Children of the Watch. And you can follow me, Ross Bolin, on Twitter and Instagram at WR Bolin. Mr. Barrett Dudley, where can the people follow you?
at Barrett Dudley, Instagram, X.
And to the podcast. Go to bullenmedia.com/shop to grab yourself some merch. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We look forward to hearing everyone's reactions on Patreon and, of course, reading them on social media as well. Holler at us. Until next time, Dracarys.